All right. Hi, Brenda. I'm so excited to work with you today and kind of talk about those talking points that you had mentioned you're struggling with in your classroom. So the first one that we can talk about is the formative assessment piece.
Yes, absolutely. That is a
Um,
struggle for sure.
yes, if you just want to tell me kind of what your concerns are with that.
This was my first year teaching first grade, and my team was fabulous. One of the teachers had taught kindergarten for 4 years, but then she taught first grade, and so it was her second year with first grade. So she was familiar with it already. She had a routine down, and then the other one's been teaching first grade for 9 years. So, and they just worked great as a team. We did all our planning together. I'll be honest, they knew it was my first year. They also knew that I was working on my master's degree. So about 90% of the time they were doing all the planning. And I was like, yeah, sounds good, guys. Let's go. And they were a-okay. In fact, a lot of times they would just meet together and like, here's the lesson plan, Brenda. I was like, thanks,
Yeah.
and it was a relief to have such a fabulous team. It really was. But one of the things we did together too, because we changed from standards-based grading this year, like all the years for the last 10, 15 years, Camden County did standards-based grading for first and second grade. But this year they went back to traditional grading. But this district did not say, here's how you have to do your grades. The school did not say, here's how you have to do your grades. And they didn't update the pacing guide. The pacing guide was still exactly like it was from the previous year with the standards base. So as a team, we got together and we had to decide, how are we going to make the categories and what's going to be weighted what, and what are we going to actually use for grades. So that was really great that we did this together. But for me, what became hard was if it wasn't for a grade, sometimes it was like, I don't have time to do that. I just put it in the classwork basket. And then at the end of the day, when everybody went home, it went file 13.
Yeah.
And I never looked at it. I mean, it might just be like a regular practice, but it is important to look at that because that's supposed to let me know, are they getting this before we get to the test?
Yeah.
That is going to be for a grade.
Yes.
But I was struggling with just keeping up with that. And I've just, I had a couple of times where we did like a reading/writing thing where they had to write something for a ticket out the door, and they handed me their ticket, and then we went out the door and I didn't get the ticket. It's not like it was an everyday thing. I'm just saying there were times this is a struggle, and I'm feeling like I need something that is a little quicker to be able to glance at it and be like, yep, Johnny, Susie, and Sally have it, and these other 4 do not. So I need to go back over it with them. Just something that's more of a quick formative assessment.
Yeah. So first of all, let me tell you that you are not alone in that. There are so many times or worksheets that aren't for a grade just pile up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, let me just file these and get them home, because it is so time consuming then to sit down and go through all of them and like grade them when they're not actually being put in the grade book, So
yes, absolutely.
What I do, and I just started this year, is I'm going to share this with you. So I use this document, which I'll just print out a ton of them, and I'll put the students' names on this side. And then I'll print out a ton of them, and then I'll have a binder for reading and math and writing. And then I don't know if you can see right here, but it's the AKS. There's a column for the AKS.
What is AKS again? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's probably like the standard or objective, whatever skill we're working on. So if we're working on 10 more, 10 less, or, addition within 20, whatever it is, I'll put it right there. And then what I usually do is, so say I'm passing out an independent practice, or like you said, that ticket out the door, which is awesome. But then you're like, what do I do with it? I'll pass it out, and then I'll have them get started on it. And, I think I saw another thing that you mentioned is how, you can usually tell, whether a student's getting it or not. I think that's just kind of, as a teacher, we just know those things. They don't have to complete the entire assignment for us to look at it and know, they get it or not. You know, you can pass it out and you can kind of tell by walking around whether they're, you know, starting right away or taking a moment to, like, you know, really
Absolutely, yes, for
slow
sure.
down. So one thing that I did is I'll pass out that independent practice, or I'll pass out that ticket out the door, or a quick formative assessment, and then I'll just walk around and I'll put a check whether they get it or a minus if they don't get it. And then I'll also have plenty of room for comments if I, you know, they kind of get this but don't really get that part, or I notice something interesting while they're working on that formative assessment.
I
So
love this.
yeah.
So on this, on the columns up at the top,
Yes.
you got date, and then you got the skill, like you said, 10 more, 10 less, or whatever.
Yes.
And is the each column for another type of skill? Is that what you're doing in that?
Yep, each one is for a different skill. So it's quick, it's like efficient, and then you can just have a ton of copies in there when you're, you know, and this will also just help me say, okay, you know, student 4, 8, 12, you didn't get it. Let's come back real quick and we can try and, like, you know, do some small group and see if we can.
I really love this, because this comes back to the 6 years I was in SPED. I had binders, and in the binders I had tabs. So it depended on how many goals, you know, how much stuff the child needed. Sometimes I was able to have a binder for every, like just one binder that had all my third graders, because maybe I only had 2 or 3 third graders. But there's one year I had like 7 third graders. So I had to have like 2 binders because I just couldn't fit. And I would just, you know, go through and clear it out. But I had something similar where I was just keeping up with their progress on their goal that they were working on. And if we were only working on objective 1 of the goal, then obviously I only had papers or worksheets or things in their activities for them to do on that. I mean, this, I wouldn't have to keep that. So in this binder, you see, you have like one for reading, one for math, one for phonics, one for writing, that type of thing. Do you keep other things in there, or just those little sheets? Or
most of the time I just kept that in there. This year I'll keep other. I'm a binder person, so
I totally am, and I wasn't doing that last year, and I think that's where I went wrong, because I didn't have my binders of check sheets.
Yeah.
And I really needed that. So I so cannot wait.
I will definitely share that with you. And then the other caveat to that I just wanted to tell you is, like, sometimes, like, I don't even have, if, like, you know, I'll set it like 3 minutes. Okay, here's our ticket out the door, you know, because for the longest time I would give my kids all this time to finish that work, but I would just give them enough time to really get started and show me what, you know, what they know, and then I can easily just go through and be like, check, nope, you got it, nope, minus, come see me. So yeah, I'll definitely share that resource with you. And I'm glad you like it.
I do. It plays right into my special ed heart. I mean, I'm never going to be not special. I get that I don't actually do that anymore. It's not part of my life as a teacher at this moment, but it's where I was for 6 years, and I learned so many organizational skills with that. So I definitely, but you were saying that about the 3 minutes. So, like, you only have like 3 minutes, so you'll give them the ticket out the door, and you just go around and look and see if they've got it or not with the check sheet. Okay.
That's basically it. And then if, you know, if they don't finish, I'm just like, okay, well, you can finish it later or finish it for homework, you know, but I'll be able to tell in that 3 minutes really who's got it or not. And then that will give me enough time to move on to our next thing, which is actually leads us into that direct instruction piece that I know you were talking about with, like you have all these different components, and what is, like, how do you chunk them, kind of? So do you want to tell me more about that?
Yes. Like I was saying, like, one of the things I struggle with in the time management piece, I mean, I got better as far as being done and moving to the next place where the next thing we have to do on time. But I'm not certain that I was dividing that time up appropriately, I guess is the right word. If I have a 50-minute block, and I'm going to move away from the phonics as a part, because that is just, that's got me. I've got to sit down with that scripted phonics and figure out what parts of that can I make small group instruction later in the day, because next school year I won't have kids pulled out. EIP kids will be in our rooms. We're not going to have EIP teachers next year. So I really won't have kids being pulled out. So that differentiated instruction time that we have at the end of the day will definitely. But what I'm saying is, in that 50-minute window, how much of that time should be me up teaching the lesson, you know, our activating strategy and the direct instruction where I'm asking questions, I'm, you know, I do, we do, you do. And then how much of that time should be devoted to, they've got their independent work time that they're going to work independently on whatever the practice is. And during that independent work time, I'm able to maybe pull some kids over and work with them, you know, as well. So that, like, I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way for chunking that out.
So this is something that we use at my school, so I wanted to share that with you. So basically it kind of chunks it out in a pie chart, which is visually friendly to me.
I love it.
Yes. So so basically we always start, and it's in percentages, but that can always, you know, transfer over to, you know, minutes. I
can totally get my calculator. I'll figure out what 10% of 50
So
is.
we like to say, okay, so one thing I've learned is like really, you know, starting off with that activating strategy, pulling them in, and then really getting into that mini lesson. I usually do like a 10-12 minute mini lesson, which can be challenging sometimes because, like you, I get excited, I'm in my zone, and then I'm like, oh wait, like I've been talking for way too long.
Yes.
And then but really devoting most of that time to that small group instruction. And while you're pulling small groups, you know, kids, you can have an assignment or group work going on, centers with the rest of the class. But you know, I'm a huge advocate for small group. I think that's where we get our most bang for our buck, you know, because we can really just have those one-on-one teachable moments with the kids. So this is kind of a good visual that is.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but where you've got summary 10%, is this like where you're doing maybe your ticket out the door, or just like one real quick?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question. Give me a thumbs up. It's just like you're real quick bringing it back together before you leave the room.
Yeah.
Or move on to the next. Okay. Exactly. I just wanted to make sure that I was on the same page.
Yes.
Are you going to share this with me? Because
I will share this with you, and I'll give you that other resource. So you can use both of those things to kind of move forward with those talking points. So yeah, do you have any questions about or any concerns, or do you feel good about those resources?
No, Madison, I love this. And I love that you have had some extra experience beyond what I've had with first grade. You've given me things to think about that I think are really important when it comes to managing that direct instruction time and managing those formative assessments and being able to keep track of who's got it. Because if I'm not keeping track of who's got it, then I don't know who I need to pull over during that differentiated instruction time and work on it with them. And I mean, that's a key right there to making sure that, you know, at the end of the school year, I'm not going, oh, I got all these kids that are still, you know, I mean, obviously you're still going to have people that have something going on. They're coming from kindergarten. They might not have been identified yet as having an issue, but they're probably going to have some. And so I'm looking forward to getting those pieces from you. And I really appreciate that you had those things to share with me. It just plays so much into that heart of mine again, that I love the color coding. I love the math. I mean, there's just, I'm going to have my binders next year because I've got to go back to that. And this is just going to be fabulous. So I'm so thankful for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I will get those over to you. But again, thank you again for sitting down and chatting with me today. I appreciate you and your willingness to learn some things from me too.
Absolutely. I think we can all learn from everybody. I'll say this real quick. I had a music teacher that taught me in 5th grade or 6th grade who said to us one time, and this stuck with me, is that she said, I learn something new every day.
Mhm.
So it's not just that
I
I
love
learn
that.
something new every day, and I said it to my students all the time. I learn something new every day. I'm a grown up. And
Yes.
I've also told them that I'm teaching you, but sometimes you guys teach me something.
Mhm.
And so there is no person younger, young or old, who can't share. And there's
Yes.
no person young or old who can't learn from what's being shared.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yes.
All right. Well, I will talk with you another time. Have a
All
great
righty. Have a good night.
day. Bye bye.